We Doug member it, so Doug Walker. Hello, we're the Nostalgia Critics. We remember Nostalgia Critic seasons. We watch 20 hours of Nostalgia Critic per video, so you don't have to. And today, we're back on the ugly 1990s couch to talk about Nostalgia Critic Season 2. So Aidan, give us a brief overview of Nostalgia Critic Season 2.
Okay, so Nostalgia Critic Season 2 is a little bit of a transitionary period, where Season 1 he felt like a AVGN knockoff most of the time. Season 2 I'd like to formally dub the gun season, because almost every episode in this season has a part where Doug Walker pulls out his prop gun and shoots it wildly as a joke. It also has far more gimmick episodes than last season, and we'll talk about those as they come up, but I think he wanted to try to branch out and experiment. There's a lot less top 11 lists, although there still are a couple, but he gets a little experimental with some of his videos. Per capita,
there's less top 11. Yeah, this is also the season where Doug starts trying gimmicks. Season 1, he's just kind of a...
Well, Season 1 did have the Teddy Ruxpin
movies.
Halloween special.
I mean, he had gimmicks, but this is like every episode seems to have gimmick after gimmick packed into it. To annoying effect. At the start of the season, we said, wow, this is kind of improving compared to Season 1.
It started off fairly strong, and then the gimmicks started to come. And
I'm sure we'll loop back around this eventually, but I would say this is where Doug started feeling big dick energy. He started realizing that he had
starts
fans.
To show hardcore here.
Yeah,
already.
His ego's fucking massive in this fucking season. But without further ado, let's look at the top 50 of 50 Doug Walker Season 2.
This time,
Nostalgia Critic Season 2 episodes.
Last episode, when we reviewed Season 1, we went from bottom to top because we thought it was funny to put top 11 hottest animated women on the top. This time, we're going to go top to bottom because there's definitely a lot to say about the stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, I feel like we took the list. We took it in a different direction. We weren't going to put the funniest videos on top. Although I feel like the really bad videos in this season were just really bad. Where Season 1 they were just funny because they were cringy.
Last season we laughed about how it was a watchability index, how the really cringe ones were on top because they were like fun to make fun of. And in this episode they're just insufferable because all the bad episodes are like horrible gimmicks and just like obnoxious bullshit. They're not watchable. Ironically,
there are a handful of unwatchables at the bottom, and honestly, when he also kind of tries to start a lot of in jokes in this season, like big lipped alligator moment, and
I think the big lip alligator moment actually started in Season 1.
Frozen.
But it came out a lot more.
No, it was this one because it was when Nostalgia Chick, Fern Galley or whatever.
Yeah,
Fern Gully. Okay. Whatever fucking review it was.
Yeah, that was
But a lot of the in-jokes that I doubt any of them are around still anymore. But he kind of had a bunch of in-jokes that he kind of thought were funny. I don't know if Nostalgia Critic fans were commenting at the time. This is also where I remember more of the episodes from being a kid.
Yeah, I remember a few of these specifically. Mostly the ones that are on the top here.
Right. Anyways, let's get into it. Starting with number 50, Moonwalker. Moonwalker was one of the only funny videos that Doug has done this season that aren't funny in spite of Doug and aren't funny because the cringe. Doug actually made decent humor. It was kind of a lightning in the bottle episode. Not only was the movie funny, but Doug actually had some funny stuff to say. And there is a level of low-hanging fruit with Michael Jackson. Like, oh, he's a kiddie fucker.
He fucks kids. Da-da-da-da.
Like, okay. But he still actually had some original things to say.
Yeah. The second best video is Titanic: The Legend Goes On, which is actually the first Doug Walker video I remember seeing. Titanic: The Legend Goes On.
The fucking animated Titanic ones as a kid
is an animated Titanic movie. This one, unlike Moonwalker, I'd say is more funny in spite of Doug, because the source material is so ridiculous. You could honestly just you could cut out Doug's parts and you'd still have a laugh, because there's a rapping dog and an octopus that saves everyone on the Titanic and stuff.
And it's kind of ridiculous to just think of the idea of, like, it's basically like a run-of-the-mill direct-to-video Disney movie
that reimagines a horrible real-life tragedy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
It's the definition of a low-hanging fruit for Doug to grab.
Next was Rockadoodle, and I do want to point out the quality starts to dip. This is a big drop from videos I would give like an 8 out of 10 to like 6 out of 10. I remember there were funny moments in Rockadoodle. I might have had a couple laughs in there, but it also kind of hits the zone already at number 3, where we're kind of hitting like the not cringy enough to be memorable and not funny enough to leave an impact. So it's just kind of like Rockadoodle.
Yep. Next up is the Star Wars Christmas Special, which falls in a similar category.
I feel like this is even a step below, though.
The Star Wars Christmas Special is hard to talk about. For anyone who's seen it, a lot of it is just dead air. And Doug does make an attempt at being funny. I think in retrospect it's probably even worse, just because more talented people like RLM have talked about it since.
I feel like everybody's thrown their 2 cents in the ring about the holiday special.
It's decent enough. It's not embarrassing. And that's kind of what the watchability index ranks.
Also, I do want to point out the video was long and boring and I didn't really care for it. But I do remember as a kid, this is where I heard of the Star Wars special for the first time. So one of the nice things about the obscurity of Doug is he does kind of pull obscure shit out of his ass. Like, this guy knows a million movies and no one ever cared to think about or watch, and occasionally it gives you a watch and a good laugh. So definitely the reason I watched this movie originally was from this. This is also the reason as a kid I had the misconception it was called the Star Wars Christmas Special. Yeah. That's what he repeatedly calls it, even though it's not called that. But yes. At this point, any enjoyability that comes out of the video is pretty much just fucking lost, because now 100 movie reviewers have done it, all of which are funnier than him. So
yeah, it's not.
He kind of just get ate out by his competition. But in fairness, it is, as far as I remember, the original holiday special review on YouTube. That is, because I remember seeing that shit in like 2011, 2010.
Certainly one of the first big ones.
Yeah, I think I saw it 2010, 2011, so pretty long ago. So next we got Captain N Cartoon. We write slightly cringy but not too bad. Gay Ganon and really cringe Mario shit.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy it!
No! Suck my big fat meatballs!
Mario! Mario!
They should have ended that.
Mario skits. It's the skit where Mario's throwing the crystal into Mount Doom and Doug's talking to him, and it's just like a poor paint drawing of Mario.
I mean,
but honestly, the Captain N cartoon, he at least tries to make jokes about it and how like they have portals and they could warp anywhere and just assassinate all the bad guys, but they don't.
I'm awesome.
Captain N, the Game Master.
He's trying. It feels like he's trying.
I mean, it is Doug looking a little too deep into a children's commercial. I know it was a whole series, but it's basically a commercial. Still okay video, I guess.
Next up is Jack Frost, which is a movie about
Michael Keaton
our notes
comes back as a fucking...
Michael Keaton comes back to life as a snowman. Our notes say kind of okay. So you can tell this is really where we're getting into the stuff that's just like mediocre but not cringe.
This is where like the videos would still have my attention 30% because a lot of the times my eyes kind of glaze over. I tried as much as I could to not be on my phone and shit while watching these Doug videos. Definitely by the end of the season it was hard.
Yeah,
There's a point where I was like, I can't watch a 25-minute video about Ernest's Christmas. I don't even want to add up all the time of Doug we've already seen. We've probably seen about 30 hours worth of Doug videos.
They average 20 minutes each, and we've seen what?
90
about
episodes.
80 episodes?
Just under 90.
So that's pretty easy math. Anyway, yep.
1,800 minutes.
Don't
worth
got a
of
lot
Doug
to say
content.
about. We're gonna have a lot to not a lot to say about a couple of these next ones because we're in the generic zone.
Gargoyles. He talks about the Gargoyles cartoon and says it's pretty good.
Yeah, this one's more informative than him trying to be funny.
Yeah, he makes a couple jokes, but mostly doesn't really try to be funny. It's a subject matter I'm not incredibly interested in. I mean, Gargoyles is basically just Disney's response to Batman Taz. Less good. I don't even got time to watch good cartoons anymore, so I don't really care about like information on Gargoyles.
Next up is Captain America 1990. Captain America, it's another one of those low-hanging fruit ones where it'll get a couple laughs out of you because Captain America is a carjacker. But at the same time, Red Letter Media did Captain America after him and did it better
Literally,
than him.
like all the stuff where you're like that. This would have been a pretty damn solid Doug episode had Red Letter Media not done it. We've already seen 2 or 3 of those since this started, but like.
And we've also talked about this movie.
No, we didn't.
No, we talked about the 70s
We talked
one.
about the 77 and 78 Captain America.
That's right.
Which were TV movies. I think this one was direct to video. I don't know if it's theatrical. But these ones were more movies. They were a step above TV. I'm pretty sure it was a direct to video. Which I don't know if that's a step above TV or not.
But yeah, if you're curious about the 90s Captain America video, Red Letter Media did it better than Doug did.
They also did Supergirl, which was Doug's newest review at the time of recording.
Yes, sir.
In the same video as they did that. So I'm sure if you were curious about watching that, you might as well just go over to Red Letter Media's. Yep. Next we have Steel. Not a terrible review. I feel like Steel is one of those like Star Wars Holiday where there is shit that's cringy and funny, some low hanging fruit jabs that he took. But nothing particularly like
Funny.
Like the movie seems really boring and the review kind of reflects that. Like, yeah, you can make fun of Shaq's suit
Acting
and shit.
and suit.
And I would just say watch the Ralph the Movie Maker review on Steel because it's funnier than Doug's. It's more brief. It's not funnier. Steel is a hard movie to make fun of. Like, you can shit on it and it's inherently funny. But the problem with Doug's videos partially is he gets these movies that are a 5-minute review that would be really fucking funny. And then he tries to stretch it out to 45 minutes.
It's not 45.
25.
He pretty much aims
25.
exactly for 20.
20 to 25 minutes. I basically am
And I
watching
assume-
a TV length
I'm gonna
review.
assume that's because of the blip TV restrictions on file size or something.
No, you could do... Oh yeah, they were 20 minutes. I think it was
'Cause that's why
30-minute max.
That's why the Red Letter Media.
Red Letter Media was originally cut to 5 parts.
Yep. The first Plinket review, the Phantom Menace one, I think is 8 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that.
Yeah, but they didn't... That was the Wild West. They didn't care about copyright. I do remember before these were uploaded to YouTube recently, I used to watch the fucking Nostalgia Critic on Blip TV. And a lot of these would be 2 parts on Blip, if I remember correctly. Although this is 10 or so years ago.
Next up is the Page Master. We didn't list any notes about it.
This dude should
Page Master is some kid's movie about a kid who goes into books.
Stars Frodo.
It's another generic thing.
And it's not very funny. A kid in King Arthur's court. Doug makes a joke about underage incest and how he wanted to watch
Underage
these 2
lesbian incest.
I was gonna say about how he wanted to watch the two sisters kiss. Don't.
Sometimes it hurts much worse.
Am I the only one finding this kind of hot?
What's to become of our family, Sarah? I know not. But I will always look after thee.
Wait, no! Go back! Go back! I want to see him get it on!
Don't worry, I wasn't gonna forget about the lesbian incest. I remember the scene.
Yeah, he
where
has like a whole 3-minute skit about how horny he is. He's like, panting
Doug
on the
does a
table.
lot of videos where he implies in this season he's very liberal about either implying that he's turned on by the thought of underage girls, that he implies, and we'll get to this later, but he implies a lot of things about underage girls in these, and I'm not going to go so far as to call Doug a pedophile. In fact, I'm not making that implication at all. I think Doug is just so fucking stupid that he doesn't realize it's... Doug thinks that the idea...
I don't think Doug is a pedophile.
I think he's
it's
just too stupid to realize he shouldn't be saying that shit.
I think it's edgy humor, but also he doesn't realize that it comes off a little bad.
Right. Right. Because it'll be like two girls kissing or something.
It's one thing to be like the Moonwalker video and be like, Michael Jackson's a pedophile, an alleged pedophile. And it's another thing to be like, I want to see those 14-year-old kids banging. You know?
Well,
it's fucking weird.
I mean...
And I know it's just a character, bro.
It'll come up more. I'm sure there's a couple we've already talked about with like underage girls are hot, is what he says. Because he does say that, God how many knows how many times. I would say 20 times in the season he references how he thinks underage girls are hot. Rep says that girl's hot, or wants these girls to kiss, or this man bangs an underage girl or boy. There's a lot of pedophilia jokes in this, and there's a lot of jokes that would be considered insensitive for 2020.
I don't think Doug's a pedophile though. I think he's just stupid.
Like Doug pretends to start like puking because he assumes the character's gay. Like being gay is like a horrible thing. It's outdated. But Doug is a grandpappy boomer, so it's okay.
The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't remember this episode.
I remember it a little bit. He talks about the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, a cartoon where random shit happens, so Doug kind of just
He's like,
screams.
wow,
Sonic. I don't remember
and there's
super
robots.
specific details, but I assume he basically just screams into the microphone for 45 minutes. 25 minutes, I'm sorry. Alright, next, the top 11 dumbest moments in Superman. I mean, this is low-hanging fruit. They're blockbusters from the 70s about Superman. And he's like, wow, I didn't know that was a power in the comics. Or like the kiss that erases Lois Lane's memory. Or the backwards time travel thing. I didn't know that existed in the comics. And that's something even like in his Quest for Peace video he mentions with Linkara. I won't spoil it too much, but he like fixes the fucking wall of China with his fucking supervision. The thing is, this was an era where Superman would just get fucking powers. If Superman's story, they couldn't figure out how to get him out of it with Superman's powers, which he was so fucking overpowered. He still is. I don't know how he can't get out of any situation with his powers. If they had to just make up a power that he would use once and never use again, yeah, whatever. Toss it in.
Like Superman making miniature clones of himself.
Honestly, him flying and making the Earth go backwards, or using supervision to fix the Great Wall of China, that's not even the weirdest shit you'll see.
Yeah.
Like the one where you can... have I ever told you about the mini Supermans he could shoot out of his hands?
I literally just mentioned that. Like Superman making miniature clones of himself. Like right before he said that. That's why I said he could make mini clones of himself.
Yeah, he could shoot... It wasn't even mini clones. It was just like, I don't know. They were just bullets that looked like Superman. There was so much shit. Superman also fucked a mermaid.
Next up is Red Sonja, or maybe Red Sonja.
This one at all.
I think it's a Conan the Barbarian spinoff. I don't remember this episode being particularly good. I think this is the real heart of the mediocre saga.
speaking of mediocre, Twister. Our note is here's Twisty, so I
That's
assume
just something cringe that Doug said.
Yeah.
Here's Twisty.
He yelled here's Twisty like it was here's Johnny from The Shining.
Yeah. Yep.
Another generic. The problem too is like a lot of the movies Doug picks are boring fucking movies that he tries to make videos on.
Yeah, Twister's a
And he's not
fucking
particularly
movie.
clever enough to make it work.
Suburban Commando is next, which is kind of a disappointment, truthfully. Suburban Commando, the main character of Suburban Commando, not the main character, the main character's...
A kid, isn't it?
No, it's the guy who plays Doc in...
I'm pretty sure we saw this yesterday.
We did see this one yesterday. But one of the main characters in the movie is Hulk Hogan, and so there should be a lot to make jokes about. And this is just another boring, generic one.
Next is Ernest Saves Christmas. This is another boring, generic one, but...
It has one exception.
Doug...
What's up, my niggas?
There's two exceptions, because at one point in the video, Doug says the N-word.
What's up, my niggas?
Okay, so Ernest
There he
goes
goes.
to jail. Ernest goes to jail and goes into a cell with a bunch of black guys. So Doug says, "What's up, my N-words?"
What's up, my niggas?
To impersonate Ernest saying that, I guess. And then immediately goes into a joke about Ernest fucking a 16-year-old girl. So
No. It's another morning I wake up with a 16-year-old girl on my couch.
Doug is fucking canceled, bro.
yeah, Doug. Honestly,
It was really bizarre.
it was literally the double fucking whammy. Of
I wasn't
jokes
even
where
paying
it-
attention to the video because it was so boring and generic, and then I just heard Doug drop the N-bomb,
What's up, my niggas?
and I like instantly perked up and looked over at Connor, and he was perked up looking at me. Ugh.
Yeah, I kind of just like I kind of like blanked out, was just staring at the wall, and then I looked over for a second to half-heartedly watch the video again, knowing that we were soon about to be over with it and we could film this review finally. And Doug said the N-word and then immediately went into a pedophile joke. I'm like, right when you think Doug can't get any cringier.
Next up is Blank Check, which is a Disney Channel movie. My notes here say gun.
Fuck you all!
I feel much better.
Well,
Which is really indicative of the gun era because, like in every video,
he just shoots
there's
his
like a
prop
30-second
gun.
segment where he'll take his prop gun and he'll swing it around like this, and then in editing he'll add a bunch of sound effects and light and fucking light
He, like,
flashes.
Yeah, he has light flashes.
It's not even like muzzle flash. He's too lazy to do that. He just makes the screen go white for a second when he goes bang 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 bang. He does that a lot, but apparently it was so notable in Blank Check that I had to make a note about
Also,
it.
Doug talked for like 5 minutes about how the FBI, about how the bank teller lady wanted to fuck the little boy and how he was so jealous because he thought the girl was so hot.
Oh my god!
Guys! Stop arresting that Kazam guy! We have lip-to-lip contact here! Hurry!
So, I don't know if I'd count that towards Doug being a pedophile, but Doug wishes he was molested as a child, I guess. Moving on. TMNT 2007. Our note is it's a real review, it's just stupid. He basically
Yep.
just bitches about the Ninja Turtles movie for...
He bitches that it doesn't
25
line up with
minutes.
his canon cartoon or whatever the fuck. We're in the Nickelodeon block.
Yeah, this
so
season started with
The season, yep, the gimmick, one of the gimmicks of this season was January was Nickelodeon month. And one of the segments in Nickelodeon month was Snick. And Snick was a block on Nickelodeon that featured
Teen Nick stuff.
like teen Nick shit, like sitcoms and
Yeah.
teen dramas. And this is basically just a retrospective on that for some ungodly reason. Moving on.
Siskel and Ebert tribute. Doug does a tribute to Siskel and Ebert. like, is kind of just boring. Like, he doesn't really add anything to the discussion about these guys. He just says, weren't they great reviewers? And then he pretty much strongly implies that he's like the next generation of Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, because...
And he self-sucks himself. This is the era where fucking...
Because Roger Ebert signed a copy of his book and said, you're great or something?
Yeah. This is kind of the era where Doug started, like, not realizing his shit stunk. Like, he just thought he was literally the greatest critic ever with, like, the best fucking opinions. But this was also the time before Doug even did any remotely modern movies, and he would just do crap no one gave a shit about.
Well, look back at Nick Coms. He talks about Nickelodeon sitcoms that are all generic and boring.
So what the fuck was Snick? Was that also just the same thing as Nick?
I don't know what Snick is.
I don't remember that video at all, apparently. We're getting all fucked up on this.
Nick Coms are just generic sitcoms for teenagers.
Fuck it,
and
moving
Doug's
on.
like, cool. So what's after Nick
So
Coms?
next was Good Burger. Doug talked about Good Burger, and he said it was a fucking horrible movie, which I had seen Good Burger probably like 10 times as a kid. I don't remember fucking Good Burger. Maybe that's an accurate opinion. It's forgettable crap. It wasn't very funny. I didn't think the source material had much to really poke fun at. I might have actually put Good Burger higher on this list. Probably, up a little bit, but... You know what? It's fucking hard to rank 50 episodes of Nostalgia Critic, so fuck you if you think badly of our list.
Okay, next up.
That's your problem.
Short Circuit 1 and 2. Doug talks about the movies. He kind of roasts them, but he doesn't say anything funny or interesting about them. He has no insight into filmmaking at all because he's a terrible filmmaker. And so he basically just says, isn't it kind of silly that this is a robot?
He never really talks about like any aspects of film. He never talks about sound editing.
No, he never talks about
cinematography. Literally, what he does.
People laugh at him now because he just recreates the plot of movies with no budget.
Well, before he just
beforehand he would just
movies.
recount the plot of the movie and then be like, "This is so bad," and scream a couple times and shoot a fake gun and be done.
Like in the next scene, Rocky fought Apollo Creed, and then he'd be like. Then he'd be like, I want to fuck a little baby. And he'd like grab a baby doll and start humping it. And then he'd start shooting it with his fake gun. Then he'd be like, gay people are gross. Then he'd make himself puke on the fucking table. And he'd be like, anyway, that was Rocky. It's a classic movie. Now let's talk about Animaniacs. Old versus new. The Dark Knight versus Batman versus the Dark Knight. I'm sorry. This video came out in like the height of like Dark Knight dick riding. And basically he just says the original Batman is better than the Dark Knight. He comes up with
here's
reasons.
The thing. He comes up with all these reasons. He has like this thing where he puts two aspects of the movie side by side. He's like Michael Keaton versus Christian Bale. And every time
it's not very scientific. It's just I'm gonna keep comparing
every single time
of a movie until I hit 25 minutes.
Every single time he gives the win to Batman. Not every single time, but most of the time he gives the win to Batman. Then at the end he's like, Dark Knight is actually better.
No, that's not the one where he said Dark Knight was better. It was the fucking next old version. It was the Lord of the Rings old versus new that he did that. He gave all the wins to Batman and then said Batman was better. He said not to say Dark Knight is bad, but it's just not as good as Batman, because you know what it is.
It's his bias.
Batman and the Dark Knight is the most overrated movie of all time, and it is part of the most overrated trilogy of all time. Yeah. But there's a huge but here. Tim Burton's Batman movies are objectively. They ain't it, Chief. They ain't it. You know, if I'm looking from a filmmaking and movie perspective, the only thing I would say that Tim Burton's Batman has over The Dark Knight is dialogue. It's a classic movie, and B, it has a better style. I wouldn't even say dialogue. All the characters but Michael Keaton phone it in so fucking hard. Half the fucking dialogue is, I'm Vicky Vale. Bruce Wayne, are you the Batman? And then he's like, yes.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing.
And then you see Batman go around, he can't even move his body.
Here's the thing. really direct, plain dialogue is better than "You're a big guy" or "You."
I'm not talking about The Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight has the same.
The Dark Knight
problem.
is the same fucking problem.
You want to know how I got these
The
scars?
movie looks
I'm
100
an insane
times
person
better.
because I lick my lips.
I'm not calling The Dark Knight good. You're sitting here acting like I'm calling The Dark
No,
Knight
I'm not.
good.
I'm just saying.
It's
literally-
not a good fucking... No,
Here's
there
the thing,
hasn't
no.
been a good fucking Batman movie yet.
A fourth grader.
There have been a bunch of okay
a
Batman
fourth grader
movies.
could write better dialogue than Christopher Nolan.
Dude,
Literally, the only reason Dunkirk is Christopher Nolan's best movie is because it has almost no dialogue, so you
Right.
don't have to see Nolan's terrible fucking writing.
Chris Nolan shoots movies very nicely.
Yes,
just
he
makes
does.
shitty fucking everything else.
Yes.
I'm not denying that, but Batman's a shit movie.
Batman is a shit movie. I'm not denying that.
Yes, and I'm not
I'm
denying
saying
the
the
fact
writing
that the
in
Dark Knight
Batman is
isn't...
better than the dialogue in Batman is better than the dialogue in The Dark Knight. Because someone saying a sentence that makes sense is slightly better than someone saying a sentence that makes no sense. Which is what Christopher
you
Nolan's
fucking
writing
serious?
always amounts to.
You haven't seen
I'm
Bat-
not wearing hockey pants.
I'm not...
I
That,
know
well,
that's
the
Batman
line
Begins,
makes
but
sense.
still.
No, that wasn't. That was The Dark Knight.
Was it really?
Because the
Oh,
Dark Knight
God.
guys were trying to shoot the place. Yeah. That line is in the best movie of all time. According to
I bet the
IMDb.
Joker told you to kill me after the heist.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, half the lines in Batman are terrible too. Half of Batman's lines are like, "You won't beat me, Joker. You're a very evil man." And then Joker's like, "But I have the balloons that are spewing stuff out. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" And then Batman's just like... like, they make the mask like 40 times too tight for his face. They like casted his face down like 6 times. They're like, "Oh shit, we accidentally broke that leg." Or like, Michael Keaton couldn't come in, but the cast wasn't quite right, so they like recasted it until it was like way too small. So his head like squeezes into it. It's like, and then his lips puff out because they're so squeezed in there, and he's like, and he can't move his neck or his body, so he just does this. And
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
at least the action scenes are the action scenes in The Dark Knight are really well shot.
Yes.
Tim Burton's is this. Guy walks up, kind of huddles there. He's like, "Should I shoot you?" Then Batman finally gets around to doing this. And the guy, fuck.
Nice job, retard.
How am I retarded? I was being fucking Batman, dude.
Old versus new. Lord of the Rings animated versus Lord of the Rings. Same as the last thing on the list. It's basically just a comparison of the two. This one shows Doug's bias a lot more, where he awards every single point to the animated movie. He's like, Frodo's better in the animated movie because he has a very minor sword fight, and that's cool. But then in the end, he's like, okay, the Peter Jackson movies are actually better because they're not a crappy cartoon from the 70s.
Yeah.
That's basically
The
all
thing
there
is,
to
I
it.
feel like he must have got lynched a little bit for the Batman versus Dark Knight comparison.
He's basically
Because
just
he wanted to give it to the cartoon.
he's basically just a huge contrarian up until the end, where he's like, okay, let the Peter Jackson wins. Okay.
Alright. The third one they made was Old versus New. Willy Wonka versus Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, this one, he doesn't really go contrarian like the first 2 episodes. He basically just says, yeah, the original's better. The only thing he said was that the chocolate looked more realistic in the 2005
thing that's fucked up-
Willy Wonka.
At the start of the video, he's like, does Charlie and the Chocolate Factory compare to Willy Wonka? And he's like, no, of course it doesn't! And then you have to sit through another 18 minutes of this horrible fucking screaming.
Yeah, I remember.
Next up is North. North is a movie about a kid who lives
He
with a
did
bunch
a lot
of
of movies
racial families, racial
starring
stereotypes.
fucking Elijah Wood. Like, half these fucking movies are Elijah Wood.
North is just another one of his generic middle of the road.
This one,
nothing
well,
reviews.
it's not even middle of the road. This is where it starts to go downhill, because this movie looked like such low-hanging fruit. I never heard of the movie or seen another review on it until I watched this review.
Yeah, you definitely
there
could have
was
made a
so
few
much
jokes about
shit
the
you
racial
coulda made.
stereotypes and shit.
And it's just, eh. This is where his normal reviews, I feel like, start to go down hill. Next, we have Barbed Wire. This is just fucking boring. Yeah. It's just 20 minutes of boring shit.
It's pretty much 20 minutes of Doug going, I like boobies!
Like, you can talk about Doug's...
He'd be like, this scene's really boring, but it has one thing going for it. And he's like, boobies!
Yeah.
And he calls them boobies every time like a 5th grader.
And Doug is a human 5th grader. He's a fucking man-child. I knew I'd come back to that, but I gotta get it in there, bro.
Next up is Last Action Hero, which is a movie that Doug apparently didn't understand. The Last Action Hero is directed by the guy who made Die Hard, and it's supposed to be like a parody of action movies. And it's intentionally goofy and stupid because it's a parody. And Doug is like, this is a horrible action movie because it doesn't feel like an action movie. And he literally just didn't get it. Basically just didn't get The Last Action Hero, which is embarrassing.
Yeah. Tank Girl. It's the same fucking shit as... It's literally the exact same shit as Barbed Wire. He's like, boobies! But this movie sucks. And it's 25 minutes long. Got it.
This is where we're hitting the low tier stuff now. We're hitting the really bad stuff. Next up is Fern Gully, which is some fucking animated movie. What the movie is isn't important, but the important part of this episode is that it introduces us to the character of the Nostalgia Chick, who would later become Lindsay Ellis.
Well, her name is Lindsay Ellis. She just quit being the Nostalgic Chick.
This episode...
she's probably like the second most important character besides Doug, and of course eventually she was dethroned by
Link Carr, and Spoonie kind of overtook her, and then Spoonie got kicked off because he made a rape joke, and so then it was...
Doug makes plenty of rape jokes.
Yeah, but it's not okay when Spoonie does it because he doesn't own the company.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I don't think Nostalgic Chick ever lost her throne as the #2 channel awesome person until, of course, Jew Wario came in and raped a bunch of people and killed himself. Actually, what I meant was the black furry guy. I was talking about the black furry guy.
Malcolm. This episode also introduces us to the terrible meme of the big-lipped alligator moment, which apparently that's from some movie. Not this one, but some other movie. And there's a scene with a singing alligator that comes out of nowhere. And so anytime something weird happens, Doug is like, big-lipped alligator moment. In reference to that.
And it's literally like at least once a video.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot. It's like an early running gag in this terrible series.
Let's hope that doesn't pull into season 3 that much. Alright. The next is The Never-Ending Story, the gimmick. This is where we're just basically on gimmicks or really fucking cringe shit. The Never-Ending Story, standard review, probably like slightly above average review, and then there's like 4 minutes of his crack fiend character, Hobo Doug, showing up and just screeching into the microphone. That's about all I have to say about it.
Okay, so next up is Full House.
This one's pretty infamous.
Full House, it feels like one that would fall into the generic category, but instead...
It's another one where it could have fallen in upper generic.
Basically, he has 2 jokes in this one. He wants to fuck DJ Tanner.
It's not a joke. He says...
That's not a
joke.
Says no.
He says pan...
He wants to fuck DJ Tanner.
He's like, DJ Tanner gets increasingly hot throughout the duration of the show. And it like shows her from all 8 seasons. It's like
shows her from like age 8 to 15.
She might be 18 in one of those fucking seasons. In one of the clips he shows.
Then you got DJ, who I have to admit, as she got older, did get consistently hotter.
He has
maybe. He has probably like 16, but still. Whatever.
He has a running joke throughout the episode about the Olsen twins being evil and like draws red eyes on them with MS Paint and shit.
And the rest is basically just him informatively telling you about
a retrospective about a boring fucking 90s
Well, he
sitcom.
says it sucks, but he doesn't really make jokes. Because he doesn't know how to make jokes when he can't just break down the plot beat for beat and recall shitty things in the plot. So it's just kind of him just saying, like, it's weird that Bob Saget's normally raunchy, but here he isn't. Cold as Ice.
It's Cool as Ice.
Cool as Ice, the Vanilla Ice movie. JonTron did it better. JonTron did it better.
That sums it up pretty well. Next up is Judge Dredd. This episode is fairly generic and wouldn't be nearly as low as it is, besides the fact that Doug inserts a musical number in here. And it's not even a special musical number. He just says the word dread over and over again to the can, and it's embarrassing.
Alright, TMNT coming out of the shells. This one features the angry video game nerd. And honestly, the video's bad, the jokes are pretty poor, but it would have been higher up. But this is early season 2. Like later in season 2, Doug started upping his camera equipment and actually had a setup that holds up relatively. Like Doug's setup at the end of season 2, if I saw a YouTuber using it now, is it out of date? Yeah, but it was nice for the time, and it's not distractingly bad. I don't think he had an in-ground mic. It looked like they just tossed a green screen up in a hotel room and probably
You forgot to mention who
halfway to
features
film
in
a
this
couple
episode.
videos. No, I said the AVGN earlier.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. But James can't save it either. Their jokes are pretty much like diarrhea, poop,
Screaming.
and screaming. I feel like it would have been a lot. It probably would have made it higher on the list. It's just hard to hear. It's poorly mixed because you hear this fucking Ninja Turtle special super loud. Then it goes back to James and Doug. It's like, cowabunga, dude, that was fucking rad. And then like the next part, it's like, diarrhea, dog shit, piss on a fucking log. And you can barely hear it. And they're just fucking in front of a green screen. And like, I assume what they did is literally met somewhere at a hotel. I don't know if they were going to the same convention, if they were just drove halfway to do a collab, if this was in James or Doug's basement, they just went with a green screen for some reason. But for some reason, they tossed up a green screen and had a slideshow going behind them. It's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess of a video. And I love James. I still respect James. But it's shit.
Oh. Next up is Transformers 2. Last time we talked about how Transformers was one of the worst videos in Season 1. This is borderline a remake of it. It's basically Doug screaming and making explosion noises while recounting the plot of Transformers 2. But despite all that, this video ends up being not as far towards the bottom as you'd expect, simply because of the gimmick episodes, which is basically where we're going from here.
Alright, the Return of Christmas specials is next. Doug doesn't have another Christmas special list. The thing that really annoys me about this more than anything that makes it suck, it's a boring top 11 list, but he pretty much says, like, I don't like this movie, but
you guys requested it.
You guys requested it. That was what it was. It was like, these aren't movies he cares about. So why the fuck are you doing the list, dude? Like, I don't understand.
Next up is Top 11 Cereal Mascots.
This is the most man-child
that's not a joke
so far.
He actually makes a list of the top 11 cereal mascots. And on top of being a cringy idea in general, he spends most of the video talking about... It's a really edgy video for some reason, where he's like, my dad has AIDS, and he talks about his dad having AIDS, and he's like, I want to murder Captain Crunch and shoot him in the face.
Lucky Charms can't stop selling his fucking body on the street to just get another hit of heroin. I don't think that was an actual joke, but it's shit like that.
The real offensive part, he makes a joke about how the Cocoa Puffs bird is addicted to Cocoa Puffs, which whatever. But then he's like, all these celebrities died of Cocoa Puff addiction. It's like Kurt Cobain and Whitney Houston and shit. It's like,
Whitney
what
Houston
the
was
fuck?
not dead when that video came out.
Kurt Cobain blew his fucking
But
brains out because he was a heroin addict because of chronic stomach pain. He's like, yeah, he was just addicted to Cocoa Puffs. Like, fuck you, dog. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a little fucked. Next is We're Back, which is about... He does a Hunter S. Thompson
I don't know why he did that.
impression for some reason over this stupid
Basically,
fucking animated dinosaur movie.
It's an animated dinosaur movie, but the whole time Doug pretends to be Hunter S. Thompson, and he spends the whole thing, he's like, if I was on crack, just like Hunter S. Thompson, then I would imagine dinosaurs singing. Like, that's not what drugs do to you, Doug. Quit talking about drugs if you don't know what... If you've never smoked pot in your life, you dumb bitch.
No, I guarantee you Doug's that dude. He smoked pot twice in high school, and now he still talks about it like he's hardcore.
Yeah, it's a really horrible gimmick. Next up is Superman 4. Superman 4 probably would not be this low on the list, but it features Linkara. There's nothing really offensive or special about the video.
The problem is,
it's
Linkara
is
as
inherently
cringy,
cringe.
if not more cringy than Doug.
Yeah, it's essentially a
And
multiplication.
he talks
of
about
cringe.
comics. I mean,
it's a lot of hardcore.
I have something to say
lot
about
of hardcore-
diversity in comics.
lot of
and how it
hardcore-
rips me off.
Yeah, Connor literally, he created diversity in
Are
comics.
we gonna talk about this every fucking Nostalgia Critic video?
He created diversity in comics. He
did.
launched 100 YouTube
Yes, I
careers.
did.
He started the alt-right. He got Donald Trump elected.
I did.
He killed the Sonic the Hedgehog comic.
Yes, I did.
And he started the entirety of Comics Gates, all from one video, but he refuses to take credit.
I've killed many major terrorist leaders.
That's not true. That's a
I killed all the
ridiculous
terrorist
assertion.
leaders by hating women so much and getting Donald Trump elected. Next is Casper, and our note is Minecraft.
Oh god.
Because Doug
this is a gimmick.
inserts the character of Casper into his
Yeah.
movie review of
He has-
Casper,
he has
and
a
Casper
poorly drawn-
punches him in the nuts and crap.
He has a poorly drawn Microsoft Paint version of Casper that's even worse than Mike Matei's Inspector Gadget from the Moiny Crafter review. And he spends the entire video arguing with his MS Paint Casper, and then the end of the video is Casper stomping on his balls.
You still can't get me!
It's embarrassing. It's like a 25-minute version of the Minecraft review.
Mine
I
is
like
really
to build
interested in
Minecraft
this video.
with brown bricks. Minecraft.
I'll go try it out.
I believe this person has quite possibly never had sex. Minecraft
That's
is
something
one of the
awkward
funniest
that Mike
videos.
Matisse said. I don't think Mike Matisse ever touched a vagina.
Minecraft is one of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
Minecraft is great.
This is a 20-minute version of Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Okay.
Hello,
Next up is
Minecraft.
Alone in the Dark. And despite how easy it should be to shit on Uwe Boll, because Uwe Boll's a fucking lunatic who sits on Letterboxd all day reviewing anime movies and boxes people who don't like his movies, for some reason, the gimmick in this episode, Linkara and Spoonie guest star. Linkara is cringe, but I do like Spoonie. And I think Spoonie's actually good in this episode as well. But for some reason I cannot fathom, Doug decided that instead of speaking in this episode, he would type out all his comments in Microsoft Sam and have them read by a robotic voice. So it's Spoonie, Linkara, and Microsoft Sam screaming over each other for 20 straight minutes, and it's fucking insufferable. I like Spoonie though. Spoonie's okay. He was okay. Now he's just a crazy person, but... yeah, that video is hard to watch.
Alright, the top 11 fuck-ups by F-ups by the Nostalgia Critic. The Nostalgia Critic goes through his 11 biggest mistakes. Doug humbles himself by basically defending every mistake he's ever made.
He's basically
explaining why he's a genius and why he's so great and why it doesn't matter that he's made mistakes.
Basically every single one. He picked ones where he could just be like, it was just a joke and you didn't understand it and you're stupid and I'm a genius. Basically. And then he has like this cringy character that's supposed to be like his nerdy fan base. And his nerdy fan base is like, you made a mistake in episode 23. And it's just like him in a wig typing on a computer with a fake nerd voice.
There's like one where he's like, I admit I made a mistake. And it was like the most minor one.
Yeah, it was like him making a
like,
typo
Doug,
or something.
And then it'll be like, number 10. Doug made 50 jokes about wanting to fuck children. And Doug will be like, what? You never thought about fucking children? Everybody does. It's just that a lot of people don't have the courage to say it. It takes a true, distinguished genius like myself, who has a lot of internet followers, to believe that they can be so genius as to want to fuck children. Number 9. The time I accidentally called Rob Thomas Rob Schneider. It's like... Dude's fucking nuts. He's fucking weirdo.
You're being really involved in this video. You must really like Dougie.
She
Okay,
likes
next.
Doug. She watched Doug with us.
Next up in our list is Sidekicks. Sidekicks is a movie about a kid who fantasizes about Chuck Norris. And I preface that part of the movie simply because this entire video is Doug
making
Chuck Norris jokes. This might be the most dated video I've ever seen. Because the entire thing is like, did you know under Chuck Norris's beard, instead of a chin, he has a fist? And it's 20 straight minutes of Doug just recounting Chuck Norris jokes. It feels like I've been put in a time machine, warped back to 2008, and I'm just sitting there listening to fucking Rickroll and Chuck Norris jokes, and it's just awful. It's so horrendous to sit through.
Yeah, I
because
feel like
it is literally the most dated thing I've ever seen in my life. I can watch movies from the fucking 30s and they feel less dated than this one fucking video about Chuck Norris jokes.
Yeah, Sidekicks is insufferable.
It's really fucking
It's so cringe.
But it's not the worst video. We're now at the top 3 worst videos.
Number 3, Congo. Congo is unfunny, it's boring, it's stupid, and it's the part of the season where Doug feels like he's just whipping videos out. I mean, this one doesn't even have, what do we even say? I mean, he does have, okay, so he does have the cringy part where the plush starts talking or whatever about how he wants Doug to fuck him or whatever. Doug's like, the plushie wants to fuck me, and he plays the Tickle Me sample 3,000 times in the movie. But it's mostly just like, it's the point where you're sitting there and it's like, hey Doug, maybe you shouldn't put out a video about once a week. I mean, I was thinking that for a long time, but it's like, this is the most whipped out dog shit. It has the stupid gimmick. Also, the first 3 minutes of the video,
God. Yeah, that's
he
what makes
thought
it
about
really
doing
bad.
a gimmick where he would, I don't know if he thought about it or if he just wanted to do the joke for the first 2 minutes of the video, but he just makes gorilla noises while
he has it
subtitled,
and he goes ooh, 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 ooh.
Not to spoil
and it'll
it.
be subtitled like, this is a movie about a monkey.
Yeah.
And we were legitimately convinced that that would be the entire video because of our number 2 pick. We thought that he would actually go with this gimmick because it was so dumb that we
should
actually
just go
believed.
into the number 2.
Number 2 is The Good Son.
Alright, before we really talk about The Good Son, though, I want to loop back. When The Good Son started, I thought it would be like Congo.
Where it's just...
Where it's like, okay, he'll do a minute or two of this little gimmick and then he'll
go
start
back
talking.
to normal.
But that's not how it works.
No. The gimmick in The Good Son, Doug pretends that his voice is shot from
So he
screaming
can
so much.
copy-paste the fucking
And so what he
script
does
into the subtitles.
is he writes on title cards the entire script for his episode and holds them up.
Well, when
It's a
he's doing
silent
clips,
episode.
He
When he's doing
copy-pastes.
clips, he does the captions. and when he's in the video, he's holding up title cards. The entire video is silent except for one moment where he's like, this movie pisses me off so much that I have to scream. And then he goes, ah! So the only noise you hear in this video is him screaming, and the rest of it is just him flipping up title cards where he's like, this movie is really dumb because it's about a kid who kills people.
And it's still
so horrible.
It's not like it's a short,
such a bad
4-minute joke review. It is 25 minutes of you hear fucking. I wish we had a fucking piece of paper here because it's just that fucking paper wiggle sound. And then he's like, when he's angry, he really wiggles it, and that's the fucking video.
It doesn't even connect to the movie.
I was mad.
The Congo one is far more obnoxious, but at least it's a movie about a fucking monkey. This movie is about a child who kills people. It has nothing to do with his gimmick. The gimmick and the movie are completely unconnected. For some reason, he's just like, I'm going to make this a silent film episode where I make a silent review featuring subtitles and title cards. For some reason, it doesn't make sense.
Dude, when
it's
I was watching
so bad.
When I was watching this video, I was getting fucking mad, dude. I was fucking mad. I was upset that Doug would waste 20 minutes of my life.
It's
literally
baffling.
Do you understand how
It's
angry
literally
you can
so
get?
baffling.
You know how much you can do with 20 minutes of your life? Not much. But it's enough that I was fucking angry, dude. I was fucking mad.
Yeah.
I was fucking fucked.
But believe it or not, this is not the worst video.
The worst and most cringy Doug Walker video of season 2 is. I'm gonna play a drum roll here. Number Banana, the top 11 mindfucks. The top 11 mindfucks is the cringiest video I've ever seen in my fucking life, I guarantee you.
Number Banana. Toontown from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Doug talks about moments in movies that blew his mind, and between each one he's like, number pedophilia. I like touching little girls.
It's like, okay. He tries to go for like absurdism without one, he's not talented or funny.
He just says
and
random shit. It's not absurdism. He's going for LOLcheeseburgers.com.
Basically, instead of ranking things like number 1, number 2, he goes number banana, number waffle, number cheeseburger, number long cat,
number pitbull.
It's just like, it's literally all the cringe LOL so random shit from like 2007 condensed into a video, and it's embarrassing. The Good Son made me mad. The fucking whatever came before The Good Son. The Good Son made me mad. Congo made me want to throw up. Sidekicks was embarrassing. Top 11 mindfucks is just.
It's cringe. It's cringe.
It's literally top tier cringe to watch Doug just.
It's kind of sad.
It's hard to
too.
explain. It literally, it's kind
sad.
of mind melting. I'm gonna throw a lot of clips in here to show it off because, like, saying that he says number banana doesn't really cut to the extent. He took this seriously. He thought this was funny, and that like saying number banana was like the height of comedy. Like, he legitimately feels like he's being funny, but what it is fucking embarrassing. This video feels almost as outdated as his Chuck Norris video, but it's also twice the cringe just because it's like that I love cheeseburger fucking
Lake Kitty type memes.
Like dated weird
It's almost It's almost on par with like Foam Adventure and hardness to watch.
It is. It really is.
At least I believe there. We're looking at very strange, likely slightly retarded girls who buy foam and they're in like their early 20s. Doug is a man who's fucking pushing 35.
Here's the thing.
He's like a 35-year-old man sitting in his basement who thinks Number Banana when Animaniacs drove the car in reverse. It's like, okay.
Here's the difference.
Suck my dick.
In season 1, we ranked top 11 hottest animated women as number 1 because Doug was being serious and he thought it was an informative video and it was like hilariously awkward. This is him trying to be funny and failing at it horribly. He thinks that this is funny and clever and it's just embarrassing. The top 11 hottest animated women is embarrassing, but he's serious about it, which makes it funny. This is him trying to be funny and embarrassing himself, which makes it embarrassing. It's really one of the hardest things I've ever watched. On par with Foam Adventure and the goth rave under the bridge.
Opa SpongeBob style.
Opa SpongeBob style and Conductor, we have a problem. Eye of the Spider. It's on that level. It's literally. I think I would rather watch Conductor, we have a problem than the top 11 mindfucks.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare video. It is a nightmare video. It's embarrassing. I don't know what to say. I can't describe it. I'm going to put a lot of clips in here because my description of it cannot possibly match how intrinsically cringe it is with Doug doing his serious voice while saying Number Banana. Like,
Number Banana, we have a seriously funny moment in Animaniacs where he says the alphabet in random order. Talk about trippy. I wonder what type of drugs they were on when they did this video. Looks like they might have smoked a little too much of the doobie.
So
Number 10.
Number purple.
Number green. Letter green. Number purple. The ghost in the shell went to the Mexican shop.
How would you sum up the gun season, season 2? The gun saga.
Boy. He gains that big dick energy.
Yeah, there's a lot of egotism
He
in
tries
this where
to
he'll
make a
talk
bunch
about,
of unfunny jokes that he finds really funny.
There's a lot of
and he pushes
egotism
them.
in this season. Even early on, he makes jokes where he's like, I'm the Messiah because I'm such a good reviewer and I'm so hilarious and everyone wants to have sex with me.
He's like, Siskel and Ebert would not be surpassed until one Nostalgia Critic released his first Transformers review in 2007 to critical acclaim.
Yeah, that's more or less. His ego is ballooning.
Yeah.
It's become a psychological profile. What started as us laughing at the Nostalgia Critic has become an examination of the psyche of a crazy, narcissistic egotist.
I feel like his ego grew too soon, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think he was on YouTube early enough. He was one of the first YouTube celebrities as far as it goes. So maybe his, what? How many subs do you think he had when he was doing this?
70K.
I doubt even that, probably. You gotta keep in mind, dude, back in the day on YouTube, it would be like, I think it was like a huge deal when the first person broke like 50K subs in like 2009 or some shit, or 2010. Or I think it was like, I think Ray William John, or was it Smosh or something, was the first one to break 1 million, and it was like a huge deal.
It might have been
now
Smosh.
Jake Paul's like, I want to get 1 million subscribers today, and then Mr. Beast is like, I will spend $2,000 to buy a fleet of Lamborghinis if you give me 100 million new subscribers today. And
I don't remember exactly, but I think it was either Smosh or Nigahiga.
It was something like that.
It was one of those kind of guys.
Well, I guarantee you, during season 2, I doubt Doug broke 100,000 subs yet. I bet he was at sub 50 at this point.
Probably.
And he's like acting like
Well,
he's
I
got
said
the biggest
70K.
dong on planet Earth. Yeah, I said sub 50. I bet you he was somewhere like the 40,000 range. Also, we forgot to talk about, which one was it where he starts talking about how he was in a magazine. He's like, it's not like I'm in the magazine of Entrepreneur that he opens up. I told you to note it, you just didn't.
The episodes we watched today were really boring.
It was Jack Frost, I think, or something.
I think it was Jack Frost.
But he's like, it's not like they would be featured in a magazine for it. Then he opened up and he had like a magazine feature in some magazine.
It was like Entrepreneur
suck
Weekly
his
or
own
something.
fucking cock. He sucks the fucking shit out of his own cock. It's like, bro, calm down, dude.
Yeah.
Should I have an ego?
You know
We
what's
have
impressive about this
560
episode,
subs?
Up until this exact moment that we're at right now, we did not mention the wall once in this review. I'm just going to throw this in here so that I can have a mention of the wall in every single season.
Alright, so Aidan. I guess we should record what season we find to be the best so far. I think that should be a running thing we pull through, what the best season is. If you were held at gunpoint and forced to watch a season of the Nostalgia Critic in one sitting, what would it be? And you can't go by length. You got to average out the quality and tell me, is season 1 or season 2 better?
You know, it's a tough question because season 2, Moonwalker and the Titanic video legitimately made me laugh.
They were the best video Doug's made. So
I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but at the same time,
those
two videos genuinely got laughs out of me, and I genuinely paid attention while they were on.
But at the inverse,
in
Transformers 2 was like not even in the top 10 worst videos were Transformers in the first season, which Transformers 2 was slightly better than the Transformers 1 version, but
in season 1, I didn't have to watch a terrible Hunter S. Thompson impression. I didn't have to watch a silent episode. I didn't have to watch an episode where he talks to a fucking MS Paint Casper. If I was at gunpoint and he said pick either season 1 or 2 and you gotta watch the whole thing, I'd probably pick season 1 because I think season 1 averages better, even though it doesn't reach the same peaks, you know?
Season 1 is more amateur, but at least they're...
Season 1 doesn't have corny,
terrible
terrible
He doesn't have
gimmicks.
the ego as much. He doesn't have the gimmicks as much. Overall, season 1, I would say, is better. But I say we keep tabs on this, dude. We just... We'll add... We'll figure out what the best season is.
I think
it'll be the champion of fates. I think season 1, it's safe to say season 1 pulled through.
I think once we
season 2's a
finish all the episodes, we should compare all the best episodes and all the worst episodes. Try to find out what the best episode of the Nostalgia Critic is and what the worst is.
I guess we can just set that up, dude. We'll do the reigning champ and the reigning worst. Oh wait, give me that. Wait, we're gonna have to cut it like 2 minutes. You playing with the cat? Yeah, whatever. Just shut it off. It's good. Well, that's fine.